Tim Clissold is a British businessman and writer who developed a fascination with China after travelling through the country in the 1980s. He ended up living and working there for more than 20 years, co-founding a private equity group that invested more than $400 million. His first book, Mr. China, told the story of a Wall Street banker who learned how not to do business there. Enormously successful, it was translated into 12 languages. Our correspondent Ray Addison went to meet him.
In celebration of the 75th anniversary of the founding of the People's Republic of China, what do you feel there is to celebrate about China today?
What's to celebrate in 75 years? Well, how about 800 million people being lifted out of absolute poverty? Isn't that worth celebrating? The fact that a country with 2,000 years of philosophy, political thought and art is starting to feel more comfortable about its own civilizational background, more confident about talking about it, because I personally regard the Chinese civilization as, hopefully, obviously it belongs to the Chinese people, it should be seen as the common property of the whole of mankind, or humankind, to be used, because it is tremendously useful, it's tremendously pragmatic, it's undogmatic.
And partly perhaps an under-tapped resource.
Totally under-tapped resource. But, I mean, they've tapped it. That's why they've been so incredibly successful so quickly.
As Chinese businesses have developed and taken on all those new modern practices, are those ideas influencing Western companies?
So there are two important parts there. So the first one is on an operating level. Western companies are now learning from Chinese companies. So one example is that the biggest battery producer in the world is in Fujian, and it's called Clissold. And Tesla is using Clissold batteries in its plant in, I think it's Nevada. But anyway, they're using Clissold batteries, and they now have Chinese technicians over there helping them install them and make sure they work properly. So that's an example of, that would never have happened 20 years ago. But there's something deeper going on. There are plenty of arguments about why China has developed such a lead in renewables and in the energy transition. Whether it's due to tariffs, whether it's due to the fact that there was a huge industrial base there anyway, clustering, which is companies making the same, suppliers and so on being in the same district, all sorts of different things going on. But there are several academic studies that said one of the most important things is consistency of policy. So China started on this road in 2008 and then fleshed it out in 2012, and it's had consistent policy for that time. So people can invest, both state-owned businesses and private capital can invest against that policy, confident, knowing that it won't change.